Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, classmates. I am Potot Clarkinson, the first reporter of the Group D, and our topic is all about Greek and Roman inventions. Greek inventions. Greek inventions and discoveries are objects, processes, or techniques invented, innovated, or discovered by Greeks and part of entirely. The first invention that I'm going to discuss is Olympic. The first modern Olympic took place in Athens, Greece. There were 280 participants from honor 30 nations, all male, who competed in 43 events including track and field, gymnastics, swimming, wrestling, cycling, tennis, weightlifting, shooting, and fencing. The creation of the Olympic was inspired by the ancient Olympic Games held in Olympia, Greece from the 8th century BC to 4th century AD. Baron Pierre de Coubertin founded the International Olympic Committee, or IOC, in 1884, leading to the first modern games in Athens, Greece in 1896. And the next invention that I'm going to discuss about the Greek invention is astrolabe. The astrolabe is one of the most significant ancient Greece inventions. It is an instrument used to make astronomical measures or measurements, like altitudes of celestial bodies. Its invention is often credited to Claudius Ptolemy, a famous Greek astronomer who lived in the Roman Empire during 2nd century AD, or even earlier, to Apollonius of Perga between 2020 and 150 BC, or Hipparchus. Astrolabes were primarily invented by the ancient Greeks in 225 BCE by Apollonius based on the theories and the findings of Hipparchus. The main uses of astrolabes were to tell time during day or night, to identify the time of sunrise and sunset, and the length of the day, and to locate celestial objects in the sky. The next invention, or the next Greek invention that I'm going to discuss, is theater or theatre. Greek dramatists also created play in multiple genres, including tragedy, comedy, and satire. And many of the plays they wrote are still relevant today and have helped to shape modern Western culture. The ancient Greeks also constructed theaters capable of seating hundreds or thousands of people. The earliest origins of drama are to be found in Athens, Greece, where ancient hymns called dithyrambics were sung in honor of the god Dionysus. These hymns were later adapted for choral processions in which participants will dress up in costumes and masks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the second lecturer, Rose Jane Otto. The water clock, known as clepsydra, was introduced into ancient Greece around the year 325 BC. It is a timepiece that measures time by the regulated flow of liquid into or out of a vessel. The liquid is measured giving the time. The Roman invented clepsydra, which water drip from a reservoir. A float provide reading against scale on the cylinder wall. The water clock. The water clock, one of the oldest time measuring instrument, also the oldest documentation of water clock. Water clock, also known as clepsydra, introduced into ancient Greece around the year 325 BC. This water clock, a timepiece that measures time by the flow of liquid into out of vessel. This liquid is measured giving a time. Also, these water clocks are ancient and known to have existed in Babylon, Egypt, and Persia. The water clock used in trial, where the time of the lawyer and witness speeches were measured to make sure that everyone spoke with the same amount of time. Next is the Greek fire. Greek fire was developed in Byzantium in the 7th century. It was an incendiary weapon that used a petroleum-based mixture. Although other type of incendiary substance, such as pitch, naphtha, sulfur, and charcoal, had been used since ancient time to make flaming arrows, fire pots and other weapons. This Greek fire developed in Byzantium in 7th century. Greek fire was likely a petroleum-based mixture and was probably invented during the reign of Constantine IV, Pogonatus 668 to 685 by Callinicus of Heliopolis. The substance could be thrown in pots or discharged from tubes. It apparently caught fire spontaneously and could not be extinguished with water. This Greek fire was an incendiary weapon used by the Eastern Roman Empire, used to set fire to enemy ships. It consisted of a combustible compound emitted by a flame-throwing weapon. The Byzantine typically used it in naval battles to great effect as it could supposedly continue burning while floating on water. This technology advantage responsible for many key Byzantine military victories. The flaming mixture fired from the sheath of the Byzantine Empire from the 7th century. The fire could cling to flesh and was impossible to extinguish with water. This was created by the family of chemist and engineer, and the secret recipe died with them. But the Greek fire stopped being used because of the general disarmament of the empire in the 20 years leading, because the Byzantine had lost access of the areas where the primary ingredients were to be found. Perhaps the secret had been lost over the time. That's all, and thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am the next reporter. I am Diana J. Nadera. So next is Roman invention. The first example of Roman invention is Roman numerals. Roman numerals originated in ancient Rome but survived for some uses after the end of the Roman Empire. Starting in the 14th century, Roman numerals began to be replaced by Arabic numerals, which benefited from the use of the zero, making them much more useful for arithmetic and counting. Roman numerals are still seen today, most often on clock faces or representing years of architecture. From the word numerals is a writing numbers in which a number in the system are represented by combination of letter from the Latin alphabet. In this system of numerical notation based on ancient Rome system, this is also are the symbolic representation of numbers that do not follow a place value system. As you can see at the picture, it has a Roman numeral which standing respectively for 1872. Those symbol I are stand for 1, V stand for 5, X stand for 10, L for 50, C for 100, D for 500, and M for 1000. So the second example of Roman invention is an early form of newspaper. An early form of newspaper, while Romans cannot be credited with creating a modern system of daily newspaper, they did not have something similar. This publication was called Acta Diurna or Daily Acts and originated as early as 131 BC. This Roman invention had much the same purpose as modern newspaper, giving Roman citizens information about their military victories, birth and deaths, and even human interests. Unfortunately, there are no surviving intact copies. Early form of newspaper are often inscribed news of current affairs onto stone, papyri, or metal slabs which were placed in public spaces. The oldest direct handwritten news sheets circulated widely in Venice as early as 1566. These weekly news sheets were full of information about wars, politics in a country of Italy and Europe. That's all. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Mary Grace Maglasang and the last reporter. So today, let's talk about arcs and the aqueducts. So first, let me ask you a question. So what is an arc? I think most of us are familiar with the word arc. Nakasugat na guro tani nga word sa ato palang guro elementary. I think sa math, di ba common nga word is arc? So according to my research, an arc is a curved structural form that carries loops around an opening, transferring them around the profile of the arc to abutments, jumps, or piers on either side. So there are many types of arc, but as you can see, we just only use one sample and a very common type of arc. As you can see in your screen or in the picture, it is a round arc. This was formed in a continuous curve and it was developed by the Romans. So, it was then said that arcs appeared as early as the 2nd millennium BC in Mesopotamian brick architecture. And then, it was the ancient Romans who were the first to apply the technique for the construction of bridges, aqueducts, and buildings, allowing the expansion of infrastructure across the Roman Empire. So, gamit di kaayo ni sa ang kaning arc sa panahon sa Roman dito sa ilaha. Without this bridge, which is an arc, the Roman army would not have been able to march across the Europe. So mo ni ilang giagian di ay kaning bridge which is made of arcs. Pagpadung adto sa Europe, pagmarcha sa mga Roman armies. So, let's continue. So my question is, unsa di ay kagamit ang arcs karon in our modern days? As of today, the main purpose of arc is to control the pressure from weight of a building. The arcs direct pressure downwards and outwards, creating a strong passage underneath, and of course, the ability to support heavy structures or infrastructure. And also, example, kanang kusog kayo ang hangin. So, maglapos-lapos ra ang hangin. So, mas layo siya na maguba dayon sa. To sum up, it was the Roman people who were the first to discover the usage of arcs in terms of the construction of bridges, aqueducts, and buildings also. Now, let's talk about aqueducts. So what is an aqueduct? Aqueduct is a water course constructed to carry water from a source to a distribution point from far away. Aqueduct is an arc also, as what I have mentioned before sa arc, atong example kay bridges, aqueducts, and buildings, diba? So aqueduct, whom the Romans constructed it. It was then constructed throughout the Republic and later the Empire to bring water from outside sources into cities and towns for their public bath, fountains, private households, farms, for their gardens, and more, or even for their drinking. But not only the Roman who used aqueducts, there were also some countries like Egypt and India who used it. So aqueducts were built over a period of about 500 years ago. So sa una ra gud di ay kanina kuansan na invent ang kaning aqueducts. So karon na pa ba kay aqueducts no nga kanang gamit? I think there are still some countries who used aqueducts like sa Roman na gihapon. Pero dili na guro imnon sir. Dili na guro kanang sana ila na gud ila imnon ba di ba sa una kay for drinking, for public bath. Karon kuan na lang guro for gardening, farming, for cleaning na lang guro. Mostly karon sa atong panahon, aqueducts kanang dili na kayo familiar, I mean dili na kay common nga gamiton for our water supply. As of now, we use pipes, ditches, canals, and tunnels for our water supply because globalization eats our world. Pero nagyapoy uban guro country like Roman still use aqueducts, pero not sure for para unsa, pero Sure kayo ko nga dili na gud na para imnon. So thank you everyone. Have a great day and God bless you all.